And I'd now like to introduce the next speaker, Ms. Afredita Hakaj. She is the Assistant Director for the Center for International Human Rights. Prior to her current position, Ms. Hakaj worked at the United Nations Department of Management, the Office of Coordination for Humanitarian Affairs, the Department of Economic and Social Affairs, and the UN Interim Administration Mission in Kosovo. Her areas of expertise include human resources, central emergency assistance, and small developing island security issues post 9/11. Ms. Hakaj has also served as Vice President of the United Nations Student Association at John Jay College and as Director for the National Model United Nations Conference. Dr. Hakaj studied law, international affairs, and economics at Pennsylvania State University, Cambridge, and John Jay College. Please join me in welcoming Ms. Afredita Hakaj.
Thank you. First off, I would like to actually point a bit of a correction. I'm not a doctor, so I would like to say it's a Miss Afredita Hakaj.
Apologies.
It's okay. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here at the International Conference on Cultural Diplomacy in the United Nations. I am particularly grateful to the Executive Director, Mark Donfried, and the staff of the Institute for Cultural Diplomacy for inviting me and arranging this conference here today. Today, I would be speaking about soft power as a tool for international peace and international cooperation. Before I go into the depths of the topic, I believe it is important to begin with the foundational foundational definition of the key concepts to be discussed: soft power and cultural diplomacy. Joseph Nye, one of the pioneers of the term soft power in the 1980s, in his book Soft Power, The Means to Success in World Politics, states that soft power lies in the ability to attract and persuade, whereas hard power, the ability to coerce, grows out of a country's military or economic might. Soft power arises from the attractiveness of a country's culture, political ideas, and policies. According to Milton Cummings, a political scientist and author who defines cultural diplomacy as the exchange of ideas, information, values, systems, traditions, beliefs, and other aspects of culture, with the intention of fostering mutual understanding. This cultural exchange can take place in fields of art, sport, literature, music, science, and economy. Such exchange implies communication and respect between the cultures involved based on a sounder understanding of respective values and reduced susceptibility to stereotypes. The potential of such innovative knowledge is to enable interaction and cooperation. Therefore, cultural diplomacy may be best described as a kind of tool, soft power tool, instrument that is substantially intended for the initiation or facilitation of such exchanges with a yield to yielding long-term benefits, whether they promote national interests, build and connect relationships, reconcile differences, or enhance socio-cultural understandings. All these factors are attributable in linking human emotion, which is the face of conflicting issues, to the furthering of the importance of international peace and cooperation. The role of human rights is arguably the new moral vernacular, suggesting that any meaningful use of soft power must be anchored in fundamental notions of human dignity and non-denomination. To understand the positive implications as well as the challenges of modern soft power tools, I will analyze how such tools were used in war and its prevention, focusing primarily on the Kosovo case and how it has helped alleviate future problems. Secondly, I will briefly mention a few of the soft power initiatives that I've been working on at the Center for International Human Rights, an academic research organization at John Jay College for the City University of New York, which helps coordinate efforts and bridge gaps on critical human rights issues. Since I'm originally from Kosovo, and I've spent quite a number of time there working as well for the United Nations mission in Kosovo, I decided to speak on the issue there on the ground and my experiences. In the Kosovo case, it is important to recognize that there were many repeated attempts to diplomacy with Serbia, which were abandoned due to the devastating international crimes committed, which actually shifted international favor for the use of force. Clearly, the Security Council was resigned to using hard power in Kosovo to support its relatively earlier soft language. Specifically, in June of 1999, the Security Council passed Resolution 1244, which brought back the issue into the Council's chamber, which, while at the same time authorizing the presence of NATO-led peacekeeping force. While there are numerous novel ideas behind soft power, such as its focus on forming coalitions and building consensus, working with a range of societal actors, particularly NGOs, the Security Council ultimately relied on hard power in the Kosovo case as the backbone for the intervention. Moreover, the Kosovo conflict suggested that a balanced approach to maintain immediate human security in the Council involves both the use of hard and soft power. Remember, this is for immediate human security. Since then, the power of culture has been an effective tool to build bridges and promote mutual understanding of the past as well as mutual interest for the future. Such initiatives must include respect and appreciation of the Kosovo cultural heritage, which for me this means integrating Albanians, Serbs, and Roma, and other ethnic minorities living in the area. For me, this is a one-sided view does not help in this regard. It is important to note that before soft power can appeal beyond borders, it must appeal within borders. In the aftermath of the Kosovo conflict, the relevant question now that is being asked is how do we prevent a war from reoccurring in Kosovo and maintain the peace and cooperation in the country. Since Kosovo's declaration of independence in 2008, the newborn state is enjoying its independence. Looking forward to the future and being recognized by more countries is more of a conflict now in Kosovo. They're trying to be recognized. So now this is our current conflict, trying to be recognized by other countries. We are seeking new avenues in this direction to being the newest state in the world. However, the new conflict in Kosovo is a muted and psychological one. Whether it will be successful or not depends on a series of factors. Kosovo, as a new independent state, is more focused on working towards the cession by new states, and at the same time, some say they're neglecting the relevance of arts and culture in this process, but what I will argue is that no development is expected without the interplay of culture. If culture is defined as an entire system of beliefs, practices, and customs that exist in a society, it is the foundation that supports every development. Maintaining international peace without peace and cooperation, without cultural harmony with all parties involved, will never be sustainable and can be ready to explode at any time. Exploring deep-rooted issues, which are the complex issues that people do not like to talk about in a formal environment, can be depicted in the tools of the art and cultural events, which I personally believe to be crucial for Kosovo's future stability. The future of a new state depends strongly on shattering the existing stereotypes of the country, generally perceived as strong-tempered, ready to spew violence, and intolerant people. One reason of associating Kosovars with these characteristics is because the Balkans stereotype triumphing over the national stereotype. Moreover, it looks like Kosovars are carrying the weight of the negative stereotype because they're perceived by other nations as culturally incapable of accession into the civilized world. They are in the middle of the Balkan-Europe dichotomy. Kosovo is attempting to challenge this obstacle by introducing to the world fundamental values that are important to the nation through the collaboration of Albanian and Serb, talented existing actors, singers, athletes, and showing the world its efforts to establish a coexisting culture. According to Olta Andoni, who has written extensively on the issue at hand, there are two processes related to the strategy. First, the export of the culture around the world, and secondly, bringing more visitors into Kosovo. She states that the world needs to touch Kosovo's great craft work. We have a wonderful craft work. We have a rhythm of the national music. There is pictures and traditional costumes, the archaeology discoveries, the movies, and the great sports teams. Once the exploiting of the culture around the world increases, the cultural exchanges with the developed world will increase as well. Lying at the core of society, art is also a medium for bringing social change. Drama, film, and music can help people come to grips with their own life. Artistic events often provide an open platform for freedom of speech, even in societies where that freedom is restricted. There are steps being made toward the representation of Kosovo's art within the country as well as in surrounding countries. For instance, one example that I'm very well known of is Shqyr Nemani, who is the first artist who opened a personal exhibition in Croatia right after the Kosovo declared itself an independent country. This event received a flurry of people and spectacular reviews. This is just one example from many that show how art can be an effective tool for gathering different societies in a venue on exposing, depending on what your objectives are, but it can be exposing human rights or other social issues. Therefore, the role of art becomes visible, as well as a positive method in a community to focus light through the enticement of the world. Movies and television, as you all know, can be a powerful source in expressing and promoting national values and creativity. The current situation of movie making in Kosovo has elicited some international attention, despite the fact that the funds given from the Center of Cinematography in the process of filmmaking usually do not cover the necessary budget. Kosovo movie makers are doing a pretty good job in using theater and art to define the cultural community. To help bridge the financial gap, another strategy being developed currently is collaborating with American and European movie makers to promote Kosovo's talent. The latest testimony of this great international relationship is a movie that is currently playing here in New York City theaters called The Forgiveness of Blood by Joshua Martson, the director, an American director, and Adimion Muratai, who's an Albanian writer and co-producer. The film addresses culturally deep-rooted issues regarding forgiveness. In addition, another soft power tool example that focuses more specifically on the youth in the region is called the Dodona Puppet Theater. Since 1986, this theater put on puppet shows for children and youth and is very popular with the local kids. During the repressive years of the 90s, this was the only Albanian cultural institution that was not completely restricted. After 1999, the war, the theater did performances for child refugees across the region and also toured Kosovo villages, remote villages, with a puppet show warning children of the dangers of the landmines. Perhaps this is why all the puppets had wooden legs. More recently, since last year, January 26th of 2011, there is an initiative by the Greek Eurodeputates S&D group in conjunction with the Kosovo Ministry of Culture. There was an actress by the name of Maria Elena Kopa, a Greek actress, who appeared in the film Honeymoons. This film was the first Albanian and Serb co-production after the war, directed by Goran Paslovic, a Serb, and Gens Permeti, an Albanian. I believe this film was quite an important film. The deputy Suzana Turku, who's of the Kosovo Ministry, stated that developments and integration processes in all areas in Europe have created new premises and opportunities for our region to increase at a higher level of cooperation and coordination. She further stated, I strongly believe that building a common cultural policy, which is key words for me, in the future by recognizing and respecting each other's differences will contribute to the integration process at all levels. This project is yet another example that invokes reconciliation, peace, and understanding among the Albanians as well as the Serbs as mutual motives together in a European civilized world with free movement. The statement, music is more than notes, has definitely a new meaning in the 21st century. Nationalist music, usually based on the folklore of the nation, plays a very important role in defining and uniting a country. Despite the Russian government's opposition to Kosovo's independence, I thought it was quite interesting to mention that there was a very talented young Kosovar flute player who performed in Russia in a festival in Moscow as a representative of the youngest state in the world. Performing in a stage of the Russian country is just the beginning of introducing and using Kosovo assets there. In this respect, I believe that the Kosovo Ministry of Culture must concentrate its efforts in organizing and sponsoring such performances, especially in countries which have not recognized it. In addition, there's another joint project here in the United States. There was a classical music concert actually very recently, last week, with the Albanian and Serbian professionals here in at the Victor Borg Hall at the Scandinavian House in New York, which I thought was also an additional feature to be added. Furthermore, Kosovo leaders must always consider treating music not just as a form of expression, but a soft power tool to promote and strengthen Kosovo's image around the world. Kosovo authorities are starting to think about the influence of culture on the future of Kosovo. This is great. However, Kosovo needs a stronger non-governmental organization in charge of the entire export of its cultural assets. The Kosovo Cultural Heritage Without Border organization, centered in Sweden, has proposed a strategy emphasizing the creation of a new Kosovo Cultural Export Project Foundation. This initiative has many great ideas for future projects, but it must include in its structure coordination between both private and public cultural stakeholders. There needs to be more extensive attention put into the minorities, and although Kosovo is living free, tension, to be quite honest with you, can erupt at any moment. Now is the time for soft power strategic tools to pave the path to mutual understanding, peace, and cooperation for all the parties. My second point, actually, I would like to discuss a little bit of my role in capacity as Assistant Director at the Center for International Human Rights. I'd like to inform you of some of the soft power initiatives that we've embarked on the past year, and which have increased human rights awareness. On December 2011, our center organized a panel discussion with a group of panelists from academia, nonprofit organizations, as well as activists on the emerging issue of technology and human rights, specifically the role of information technology and social networking platforms in mobilizing people to advance the cause of human rights and social justice. It was very well attended. More recently, we're currently in the process of collaborating on a project called Spotlight Human Rights. This is a new initiative by Epic Theater Ensemble here in New York in partnership with Lark Play Development Center to bring together practitioners in the field of human rights with theater artists, scholars, students from New York City colleges as well as high schools to collaborate on new plays and new scholarship that raises public awareness about the lives of international aid workers. This initiative is premised on the belief that art, and more specifically theater, is a powerful tool for expressing the quest for human dignity, but also for advancing civic empowerment. The four themes that we've selected for the plays, there's actually 4 plays. The themes are, the first play will be basically about the role of faith and religion in humanitarian relief. The second play will be a little bit about the gay humanitarian aid workers and their challenges of homecoming. The third play will focus on identifying the challenges of assisting immigrant victims of gender violence. Particularly, we've narrowed it down to Haitian women. I'm sure many women and many societies can reflect on that. And the fourth play will be the notion of trust and the ability to fulfill commitments in humanitarian relief. We'll be looking at Bosnia, Herzegovina, and Kosovo, and other situations. This initiative will accumulate in a 5-day conference at John Jay College, nearby theaters, as well as cultural organizations in Manhattan of this summer. These plays will be presented to the public side by side with new scholarship, all followed by interactive workshops, fostering a diverse and multifaceted community that has the potential to last far beyond the initiative's lifespan, as well as generate new work that has meaningful impact for human rights practitioners. To sum up my thoughts very briefly, cultural exchange can contribute to mutual understanding within societies, which is very important, and also between societies. It also enriches lives by inspiring new forms of artistic expression and providing fresh insight that broadens our horizon. Soft power tools can exercise a more powerful influence than military task forces or political delegations. These artistic extensions of cultural diplomacy, including social media, are flooding the world with modern information. The UN and other international organizations have cemented cultural diplomacy and other soft power tools within the international dialogue, and as such, it is important to evaluate and discuss these in regards to international issues such as peace and cooperation. These are the informal strategic methods that really combat the deep-rooted issues that people do not know how to address in certain conflicts. This will allow participants and speakers of the conference to analyze their effectiveness and add to the dialogue for improvement. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Hakaj. We have time for just a few questions. Do I see any hands? Yes, sir.
My name is Emmanuel. I'm a little bit skeptical when we talk about soft power. You know, after 9/11 incident, a lot of things changed. You know, there were a lot of security challenges. Some countries became vulnerable. In fact, it opened an avalanche of, problems, challenges. You see, I wanted to throw more light because the way things are going, I don't know. When we talk about soft power, the prospect of using soft power as a sine qua non to conflict resolution. Maybe you've done a lot in Kosovo because the case of Kosovo is a serious matter, just like Rwanda, Somalia, Darfur. They are very serious cases. Now, but if you say that soft power have gone to a very tremendous extent, to solve some conflict, that's fantastic. But I would want you to, throw more light, because for me, I'm skeptical that most cases is neither here nor there. Just like the last speaker said, some of the things we'll be saying is just on paper. Right. So I would want you to, highlight more on that.
Every case is exceptional and unique in its own, capacity. It depends basically on your end result. In Africa, it depends on, are you using soft power in terms of stopping conflict, or are you using soft power in terms of trying to build and empower individuals and raise awareness of human rights issues? Very recently, I attended a UNHCR event, that had the Women's Refugee Council, and they had also a Film Aid, who was doing lots of different projects in Africa where they were addressing different communities, very rural and very scarce communities, and empowering and educating people through film, documentary, through plays. That's what I'm trying to say. It depends on your outcome. It depends on the end result. Are you trying to stop a conflict entirely? In Kosovo, that happened with hard power because they had to intervene. But maybe you can do certain things, maybe you can have certain initiatives that can also decrease the likelihood of that conflict beforehand. It depends on the circumstances. Or also maybe after conflict, you can use soft power as preventative method. Do you see what I'm saying? So to answer your question, it really depends on your outcome and your result.
Hi, my name is Talina Mara, and I have spent my lifetime in soft power, actually working for large cultural organizations, Lincoln Center here in New York City, and more recently in Los Angeles. In my experience, soft power is really nothing more than a problem-solving process. Are you finding that when you solve problems through that creative process, whether it's music or art or theater, at a more local level, that it transfers then to a more global process when working outside the ability to begin to solve problems through that creative process, through the idea of putting together and collaborating together as neighbors, even if you're very, very different?
Yes.
If that process has then been able to transfer to a more global or larger community as well.
In the specific example of Kosovo, yes, I have. I've seen different initiatives and programs where they were directed towards the youth, and the objectives were to have, maybe a play or an artistic expression event where the children were together and they formed opinions about the war and before the war and after the war. And these are really deep-rooted issues. So even if the children are depicting their opinions, they're sort of psychologically coming from their families. They're not their own personality. So I've seen a lot of changes in terms of the youth. In terms of the older population, there also have been other changes. You see the film fest. They have these film fests where neighbors that didn't socialize before are socializing. Basically, these soft power initiatives are creating a soft, the word, maybe that's not the right word, but just like a little bit of a soft way to communicate with people with under an informal process. So I have seen positive examples, as well as abroad. Here in the United States, some of the initiatives that we're working on at the center have raised issues and have brought political parties that would not normally think in an open manner. They're more narrow in their perceptions, so they are opening up their attitudes. That's pretty much all. Yeah.
Okay, well, unfortunately, we do have to move on, but please join me in another round of applause for Ms. Afredita Hakaj. Thank you very much.